Back for part two with Jeff Griffin. And I get to title this one
Ooh.
0% Chance.
All right.
This second episode is going to absolutely change your life. Because you said that your son he's in your hall of fame that you look up to and that inspires you, your dad and your son. You know, my dad inspired me too. And my dad passed away six weeks ago. But my son, he's one of my best friends. He inspires me. And the way he gets through life, the way he goes through and accomplishes hard tasks, it's the same thing with our daughter. And I think that's why God gives you children, to keep teaching you life lessons, even as a parent.
Yeah, and another beautiful thing too is, we get a glimpse. Our partners and spouses get a glimpse of who we were when we were younger.
They sure do. They sure they sure do. So my question was your son a bit of a troublemaker, Jeff, or was he just full of energy and everywhere? You know, what traits did he get from dad?
You know what? He's amazing. He's amazing. My wife and I, we've had to do some developing. We've had to do some teaching. We've had to do some disciplining.
Mm-hmm.
We've had to help him course correct on the correct course, and understanding that it's not a big deal to get off course, because we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is do we have a destination in sight? Do we have a dream? Do we have a direction that we're going in? And what's interesting here is, the instrument in a plane that gets the plane from point A to point B is called the attitude meter.
Hmm.
And if a plane is going from LA to New York and it's just off 1 degree, it's going to end up in Washington, D.C. or Boston, Massachusetts. Not a big deal unless you're going to New York.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so you've got to have that destination and dream in mind. And so, my wife and I, and it's tough to do something you've never done before. And so again, we are constantly practicing what we preach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been the biggest thing, is where they've, garnered those things, because, these flecks of gold that I discovered have now been developed into some gold nuggets. And, my son can quote me on a lot of my one-liners. The possibility principle is based off of Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote, where he says, that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do, period. And, when I begin it, he's like, oh, that, and he'll repeat it before I get there. But what's interesting here is, we've had to do our part on teaching them the importance of discipline, teaching the importance of focus, teaching the importance of, the importance of these principles, and just hoping, knowing, at the time it was hoping, but now, looking back, it's easy to look back and say, yeah, it was it. But, for example, my daughter, who's 20, she did not grasp onto it and take hold of it like my son did. And, my daughter had every single mental issue under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
She has struggled with mental health her whole life. But what's interesting is we just continue to love her. We continue to teach her. We continue to help her understand that it's the process that's more important than the promises and the destination.
Mm-hmm.
And to focus on the process, because most of us, we focus on the promises and abort the process, but it's the process that helps us progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wasn't learning as fast as the other kids. She wasn't catching on like the other kids. She was struggling, with test taking and all these other things. And she had some anxiety, not some, she had every anxiety under the sun. And my dad's like, he's a competitive person. And he's like, it doesn't look like that, your daughter is advancing the way she should be. And I just look at him, I smile, and I'm like, but she's advancing.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting here is, she's 20 years old now, and she has some qualities that my son does not. She has some things that my son, hasn't experienced because of his ability to focus and to be disciplined and whatnot. And my daughter doesn't have the things that my son does, but they both can still develop it and they can still help each other out. And that's what's so beautiful about being part of a team, being part of a family.
That's
You
our
know,
kids. Our kids are complete opposites as well. Since we're talking about your kids, and because we see so many families, one of your topics was dream,
yeah.
and I think at some point along our life, right, we growing up, like we have big dreams, and I don't always think that it's our own children that change their dreams, or if it's the peer pressure. I think it actually comes from family of saying that you can't do something. And I don't even think it's intentional that we maybe say, well, no, you can't do that now, or I want to be in the Olympics, or I want to do football. No, let's maybe do something else. How can we as parents, since you have these tools for us, how can we be cognizant of not spoiling the dreams that our children have and allow them to be able to grow and to flourish with that and to be able to support them?
100%, 100%, because I get that all the time. And educators, they're like, I'm so tired of hearing kids say, I want to be a YouTuber. And I'm like, you know what? Let them be a YouTuber. Let them do whatever. And I was sharing this with a group of educators in Kentucky, and they're like, what would you say to an individual who wants to play hockey in the NHL? And I'm like, have him go after it.
Play.
And she's like, well, he's in a wheelchair. I'm like, great. Absolutely. Let that person dream, because when we tell people what they can't do, what's interesting is that word can't, can't is so poisonous. It's so debilitating. It's so limiting. And as soon as you tell yourself that you can't, your mind accepts it. And then, you're not going to come up with a solution. And so every minute you doubt it's possible, you give up 60 seconds in finding the solution. And so what I say to that is, parents, let your kids dream. If your kid is in a wheelchair and wants to be in the NHL, hockey league, let them do that. Let them plan, let them dream, let them prepare, and let them start to take those steps to see what it will take to become that. And eventually they'll come to the end of the road and they're like, okay, well, yeah, no, this is not going to be conducive for me, or this is not really what I want, or you know what, I'm still going to try to figure out a way to do it. But again, you're helping them develop these problem-solving skills, help them develop the tool of, coming up with some solutions. And people are like, well, that's just Pollyannish, that's just up in the night, but it's really not, because you allow them to develop these skills and you allow them to just keep on, developing, the steps that are required to achieve their dreams. And so again, I would just say, allow them to dream, allow them to fail. And so often we don't allow our kids to fail.
Well, failure is a part of success. It's not if and when you're going to fail. It's when you're going to fail. And then how are you going to course correct and change that, or how fast do you recover? But failure is not an option, because it's a necessity. Failure is always going to happen. And it's how you recover from it. What are you going to learn from it? Because I firmly believe there's really not a failure in life. It's just flat out lessons being learned all the time. Whether or not you want to find the negativity to the lesson, or you want to actually learn from the lesson and actually use it as a positive and not a negative. And to come back to the boy that, is in a wheelchair and wants to play in the NHL. Well, obviously there is a Paralympic hockey team, and he may find a different deflection in the road, but the destination is just as great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I told the one lady. I'm like, well, there's Paralympic hockey, there's sledge hockey. And she's like, no, he wants to play in the NHL. I'm like, awesome. Let him do it. Let him go.
Let him figure it out.
Let him figure it out, because what's interesting is we have lost sight of what success means, what it truly means. And a lot of times we can find out what something is by what it isn't.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if I just simply say, what's the opposite of success? The answer I get 99.9% of the time is failure. And I don't think that is true. I don't think that the opposite of success is failure, because as you said, Skip, I've never met anyone who has not failed their way to success.
Right. The opposite success in my mind is not trying.
Amen. It is not trying, or it is to quit.
Yeah.
It's what it is. Thomas Edison, 10,000 times that he failed in order to find the light bulb. It depends on which source you use. Some people like it's 1,000. Napoleon Hill said 10,000, so I'm going to go with him. But 10,000 times it took him to figure out how to get the light bulb to work. Are you willing to take those steps? Are you willing to do what is necessary? And so we have to understand what success is. Success is not failure. Success is not trying. Success is not, success is, not trying and quitting is the opposite of success. And so what is success? To me, it's KFC. It's not the Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's not the finger licking good, but it is finger licking good. And success means KFC is you got to know what you want, which goes back to the dream. You've got to finish what you start. There's a ton of starters out there, not much finishers, which goes back to the do. And then you've got to celebrate the process.
Yeah, man.
And part of that celebration is most of us don't know what we want, but the majority of us know what we don't want. And you and I both know that where our focus goes, our energy flows. And so if we focus on what we don't want, we're going to continue to get what we don't want. And so celebrate the process. And the first part of the process is to know what you want.
Yeah.
To know where you're going. And to understand that desire needs to match up with your dreams, because if your desires don't match up with your dreams, you're going to allow, those demons of doubt, fear, and complacency defeat you. And we don't want that.
I think, not to interrupt you, Jeff, I'm sorry, please finish.
No, that's it. That's just it. It's just like, we really need to be aware of those demons, those dragons, those hurdles that are in front of us, all around us. I may be physically paralyzed, but I've learned that most of us, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency. And so if we're just aware, if we become aware of what's around us and become aware that there are tools and there are skills available that are simple, right, and that we can have that success.
I think that when I heard you say KFC and no finish and celebrate, I want everybody out there listening right now to think, where did you think he was going to take celebration? Because a lot of people think that it's celebrate the win, celebrate the end goal, celebrate the triumph. But really what it is it's celebrating the process to get you to the end goal. And talking to LaShawn Merritt, it's the same way. It's amazing when I talk to elite, high level thinking people, not athletes. Athletes are amazing too, but if they're high level thinking athletes, they're the ones that are champions. They're the ones that win gold medals. They're the ones that play on Olympic teams. And the reason why is because they celebrate the process. They trust the process. They learn to love the suck, some people would like to say, but they learn to love the process and enjoy the process, because they know process leads to delayed gratification if you really understand it and want to build a strong foundation, and the ability to celebrate the process. Every person, Jeff, every person that I've ever heard say that is extremely successful, say that exact same thing. They celebrate the wins, but not as hard as they celebrate the process and learning to love the journey of being there.
100%. And it's important to enjoy the wins as well. Don't get me wrong. Once you make it to the top of the mountain, absolutely celebrate. But I'm saying celebrate along the way. Yeah. There's mile markers that happen here and there. And those celebrations, are fuel that helps us move forward. But you're absolutely right. It's, again, it is trusting the process, because what? I don't know I've never met anybody at a high level or even a medium level, mediocre level, that, they're super excited at the beginning. They love what they're doing, but there's some doldrums. There's some depressions. There's some darkness. There's some dips along the way that require you to walk in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
That requires you to trust the process. And so, if we really truly want to understand our true power and potential, long before, we have to trust the process and take that step into the darkness long before we ever see the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sean Dill would say, walk into the white water, walk into the area of most turbulence. But the darkness is where there's just a little crack of light can brighten an entire room of darkness. It changes the color spectrum immediately. And finding the good in all of it, finding the life lesson, the silver lining, the touches of favor that are put in front of you every day is just so incredibly awesome. And getting a chance to meet you and then being able to take advantage of each other and talking to each other and getting this message out of yours, Jeff, because I think it's phenomenal, because there's a lot of people that would take on the attitude of, why are you crying? And they just say, because, instead of hearing that and saying, why am I crying? Why is this actually happening? And that's okay. Like, when my dad died and I cried hard, I've never cried that hard in my life. My eyes hurt. But why did it happen? What led to the situation or the turning points? But then what lessons am I learning from this? And can I celebrate the process of being with my dad his entire life up until the point where he's no longer on the earth? Now he's in heaven smiling down, and understanding that, right?
And can I push you a little bit here, Skip?
Yeah.
Your dad may not be here with you physically, but he is here with you.
Yeah, he's always here. He's always
your
here.
personality traits, the things that you picked up,
Mhm.
his DNA, it is in you, and then you get to pass it on. And again, that's the beauty of life, is like, again, going back to, are we barely breathing and calling it a life, or are we living a life that takes our breath away?
Yeah, I love that saying. I wrote that down immediately. Like, it's incredible. I've never heard it said that way. And I've heard a lot of people, Jeff, and that's incredible.
Well, you know what, Skip and Julie, you guys are incredible. You guys are amazing. You guys, we were in Miami together, and there was one of the speakers that said that it's not our job to be a forecaster. Our job is to be a lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are a lighthouse. Your light is shining. You are helping others come behind you. You're plowing a path, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate the good that you are giving to this world. I always say that every great man and woman of history is a man of service. And so thank you for your greatness.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Like, that is exactly it. And the biggest thing that we want to look at here, Jeff, give me just 1 second. I got to edit something. For some reason, can you see us, Jeff?
I can.
Okay, hold on 1 sec. I don't know what happened. Everything's recording. There it goes. Yeah. Minimized. For some reason, my phone picked up to my computer. That's the beauty of Mac. Sorry about that, Jeff.
Yeah, you're gonna get some editing. Click, click, click.
Yep, that'll just come out and be fine. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for those kind words. And just being a lighthouse is key. And that was Evan Lovegrove. That was Dr. Lovegrove that talked about that. And Stefan Lovegrove that talked about that. And we've lived by that principle for 16 years of being in chiropractic practice with these families, and seeing kids that have been extremely sick, seeing kids, like, you may not know this, Jeff, but we see 75% children, and half of those kids that we see are under 6 months of life. And I've seen some incredibly sick children. I've seen some children that are literally on the edges of death. And it's incredible to be able to provide light and hope to people versus darkness and despair.
Yeah. And
to watch eyes of parents light up because you gave them hope. Hope is all you need. I mean, you even listen to Holocaust survivors. They will say, how did I survive? I kept hope. Hope is the reason why I did what I did. Hope is the reason why I'm here. And it's that lighthouse. It's that source. It's to make sure that we're always there to shine our light. And this has been incredible. Jeff, I know you do tons of motivational speaking now. And how can our listeners follow more of you? Because if they listen to this and didn't get anything out of it, they must be deaf. And we don't have subtitles yet, but they will. So how do they get in contact with you, Jeff? How do they get your book? How do they take care of this?
Oh, absolutely. You go down below or up above or wherever the links are and click on the link that goes to griffinmotivation.com. That's Griffin. It's like Griffin, like the mythical beast, half lion, half eagle.
That's right.
That's right. That's where you look familiar.
Half lion, half eagle.
It.
Yes, it's a griffin.
Yeah, and so I try to convince people that I'm a mythical beast, and my wife reminds me that I'm neither a beast nor mythical. And but griffinmotivation.com, you can get anything there. You can social media, the handles and all that stuff. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Yep. The books you see behind me, if you're watching this, if you're just listening to it, I've got 2 books called Desire, Dream, and Do is the first one. I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, and Do. The second one is Endless Possibilities, the 90-day recipe for world record results. If you get both books, shipping will be free. And
awesome.
For your listeners, Dr. Skip and Dr. Julie, if you will include the coupon code LOVE, that is LOVE, we will knock off 50%. So that is buy one, get one free shipping. I'm telling you, you got to go out there. It's now Christmas. We're getting close to the holidays and whatnot. But I do want to end with this if I can. You were talking about hope. And I remember, like, after I received that news of never walking, never standing, never moving my legs again, I'm like, oh my gosh, now what? And then exiting that sauna of self-pity, I'm like, I was able to dream new dreams. And my dream was to walk again. It was to climb mountains. It was to run and not be weary and walk and not faint and have a full recovery. Now, I told the doctor my dream. And he did the same thing as, the other people did with my previous dream, which was to play football in college. And the doctor says, Griff, don't get your hopes up. In fact, I remember him pointing his finger at my chest. And with the professionalism of an MD and of a surgeon and all the things on the wall, his expertise and qualifications, and he pointed his finger at my chest and he's like, Griff, don't ever get your hopes up. It's impossible. And I love the quote by Muhammad Ali that says, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it.
Yep.
And that's what I invite your listeners to do, is to explore the power that they have to change it. There is hope. There is hope that is out there. And for me, it's the great I am. That is the greatest hope for me. And that's the one that gives me the most hope. And so again, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this podcast.
The great I am.
That's a good.
Talk about the best words to end with. And I just appreciate you being on here so much, Jeff. I can't wait to continue our friendship and relationship. Someday soon, we'll be on a stage next to each other and we'll get to share a microphone together and inspire thousands of people. And Jeff, it's been absolute my honor to have you here. I don't want to speak for Julie, but she's speechless. Her eyes are red. She rarely cries. Jeff, thanks a lot, man. We love you so much. And thanks for just bringing your light to our podcast. We really appreciate you, sir.
I love you. And remember,
you're amazing. Thank you.
You are amazing. Absolutely.
You're awesome, Jeff. All right, everybody, go out there, get it done. Have a great week. Bye, everyone.